Hi. Several of you have asked for more guidance on the analytical paper, which is going to be due on December 13th, which is next week. And here we go. This is the video. We're going to cover that. So this semester, we have covered numerous approaches or frameworks for exploring what makes something religious, including the seven dimensions theory, which we talked about the very first module at the beginning of our half semester. This is a very useful tool to explore in this paper assignment that you have, okay? So you might want to go back to the first module and watch some of those videos and remind yourself about that theory and the ways that theory can be applied to different to the analysis of different things. Now, when I said text in the uh, description of the assignment, I said a text could be many, many things. Text just means something that you're analyzing. It could be a building, a song, a book, article, a poem, a painting, what have you, a large variety of things. Text simply equals something that you're analyzing. So let's think about some examples. For example, the Lincoln Memorial. Maybe you wanted to explore this through the lens of something being religious. Now, you could explore this through, first, the concept of sacred geography, which we just touched last week. So, for example, you could look at it from the lens of pilgrimage. Do people visit the Lincoln Memorial as a sacred site? Do they make some kind of a pilgrimage to it? Anyone who's ever done the, sort of, I guess, cliche junior high, high school trip to Washington, D.C. has probably visited the Lincoln Memorial and had some kind of education or lesson or teaching related to it. Is the Lincoln Memorial considered a sacred place, which should be protected? So you could explore it through the idea of it being sort of the land itself around it is sacred. You could look at it from seven dimensions theory. So let's look at it as a material object. It is a material object very much. If you want to think about there being something religious about the concept of American democracy, maybe it teaches a narrative or a myth. So, for example, Lincoln is presented as a mythic figure. He's literally seated on a throne akin to a Greek god in a Greek temple. There literally are white columns outside of the Lincoln Memorial. Similar to the Jefferson Memorial, Jefferson's standing tall in a circle surrounded by columns. These are intended to look like Greek and Roman temples and sort of sacred sites. The connection is right there. It's intended that way. Going back to the Lincoln Memorial, maybe there's a doctrinal element to it. So, for example, the Gettysburg Address is literally carved into the wall. So, is that saying that the Gettysburg Address is itself sort of a sacred text, something that we should look at, and learn something from? Is it something that speaks something powerful about who we are and what we value? We could look at it from the lens of the religious and political imaginary that we looked at in about 2 weeks or so ago. Does the Lincoln Memorial make Lincoln himself into a religious figure? Is he a martyr? And thus, are we holding him up as some sort of secular saint because of the sacrifice he made to uphold a political value, which is the Union, which itself took on religious overtones? Now, you could also think about other places or lands itself, which are seen as religious or sacred. For example, the Holy Land. It's in the name. It's in how we describe it. Is it a place that is seen as sacred for some people? Why would it be considered sacred? Maybe Yosemite National Park. how it's been described, how it's been sort of presented, how John Muir, who was one of the people who originally set out to create the national park system, talked about Yosemite, national park as if it was like um, uh, the Garden of Eden, and like God, was walking along and created this place. Um, Sometimes even sports stadiums are seen as sacred places, places where entire cities have experienced a sense of unity and a development of a community in this place. So maybe we're talking about popular literature. So there's something religious about the Harry Potter series. Now, using seven dimensions theory, many people see it as teaching a very specific sense of ethics and law, like how one should be and how one should not be, how someone should act. Maybe we're looking at Harry himself. Um, is he a Jesus figure or a Messiah figure who is sacrificed in order to defeat the evil of Voldemort? Um, Now, you can explore any number of different movies and books which play with the idea of a Messiah figure. Look up the phrase Jesus figure in film, and you'll be inundated with ideas. Any number of different books and movies and even sort of songs have kind of played with this idea of the Jesus figure or the martyr. You could go into, looking at books and movies that explore the concept of martyrdom, and that itself is a religious idea. And you could sort of take the idea of martyrdom and explore how it's seen as a religious thing, and then how it's seen and explored in these in the book itself. So you could also go super, super easy and look at actual religious texts and actual religious buildings and just explore how they fit into any of these theories, or in the seven dimensions itself. Now, I must admit, while this is perfectly acceptable, and you can do a really solid paper with that, it might also be pretty boring for you to go down that route. But if you decide to do that, that's fine. That fits within the framework of the assignment. So what I'm looking for in the paper is, first, introduce the thing slash text. Okay. Um, in a very, sort of somewhat quick introduction, talk about its history, its context. Where is it? What is it? Who wrote it? For what purpose was it created? Is it entertaining? For example, you could look at Harry Potter as being entertainment, but it could also be sort of trying to develop another way of understanding childhood, and so it could be sort of um, a philosophical thing using the seven dimensions theory, presenting a different understanding of how it is to be human. Um, maybe it is, for example, thinking of again like Lincoln sitting on the throne. It's literally like it is a stone building which is intended to uphold certain ideals, to literally put on a pedestal, and sort of by putting on a pedestal, demonstrate that these ideas are what we uphold as a society and a government, um, and that we want to teach as important. Some of these things are really kind of smack you in the face if you really look at them. They're really obvious. Um, then, of course, the body of the paper, I want you to state which theories or concepts you are going to use to analyze the text. So it's going to be martyrdom, or one of the seven dimensions, or the concept of, maybe using Caroline Walker Bynum's idea of exploring, the human person, and look at those theories if you found those interesting. Um, and you could explore Harry Potter, let's say, even through some of the lenses that Caroline Walker Bynum provides for looking at the human person and the body itself. Um, and then you know in that, you're going to actually, once you've introduced and stated what theories you're going to analyze or analyze the text from, I want you to obviously do it. And then finally, once you've done it, and that should be a few pages, provide a conclusion to basically say what you've said. sort of pull it all together. It is 5 pages, and it is um, at least 5 pages. If you want to go longer, great, go ahead, but try to hit at least 5 pages. Double spaced, 12 point Times New Roman font, 1 inch top and side margins. Basically, the usual college paper. Okay. Um, and in terms of the um, actual citation style, you could use either MLA or the Chicago Turabian style. Um, if you really want to make a case for APA, just email me and say, hey, I know the style. I write in it with some of my other classes, and that you're familiar with it. Now, something else I really want you to focus on, it's really important, is that I don't want you to just um, look on the internet and find whatever random sources and go from there. Okay, be intentional. Search for specific terms and ideas, like for example, Messiah in film, or Jesus figure in film or literature or something. Okay. Um, Now, newspapers, some guy's random blog, etc. These are not considered scholarly sources. Newspapers, or for example, if you're looking at again Harry Potter, maybe the Pottermore site, for example, could be useful tools to give some of the introduction, history, and background I was talking about. But these, again, are not scholarly sources. You actually need to go into the library, website, look into JSTOR, any of the articles, things that you can find through the library, any of the books or book chapters you can actually access through the library. Do that. Okay, you can use the materials from the class as well. Don't over don't be too dependent upon those, but try to really focus on actually this being a scholarly research paper, and not something that you're just going to throw together. Okay, if you have any questions, email me. I'm happy to meet with folks and to talk more and to send another video if that's necessary.